We're about to get started. Please, can I crave your indulgence to please be on your feet while we'll take the national anthem. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please can we have our seats? Thank you very much. Once again, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 70th year of Free Universal Primary Education and Award Night organized by Daily Independent Limited. Please, if you're happy to be here, please can you put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, I'd like to seek your permission to welcome and introduce some of our respected dignitaries here present. I'd like to start with the chairman of this occasion, an eminent personality, a father, and of course a stalwart. Please make welcome the chairman of this occasion, Chief BC Akonde, CFR. You are most welcome, sir. I'd like to quickly recognize some of the excellencies here present. Of course, I start with, in no particular order, His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Audu Sule, the Governor of Nasarawa State, ably represented here by the Commissioner for Education, Dr. John D.W. Mamman. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you very much. I also like to recognize His Excellency, the Governor of Ekiti State, Governor Abiodun Abayomi Oyebanji, ably represented here by the Executive Chairman of Ekiti State, SUBEB, Professor Femi Akinwumi. You're welcome, sir. I also like to recognize the presence of His Excellency, Governor Peter Mba, the Governor of Enugu State, ably represented here by Professor Benedict Okoli, Honorable Commissioner for Human Development and Poverty Eradication. It is my pleasure as well to introduce the Governor of Kogi State, His Excellency Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo, ably represented here by Wemi Jones, FCIB, Honorable Commissioner for Education. You are most welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here. We have our guest speaker, our keynote speaker here with us, an eminent personality, Professor Bath Nnaji. We're happy to have you join us today. I can see around the hall, dotting the corners of this hall, eminent personality. I saw the former Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, around. Please, can you give him a round of applause? I think he's somewhere around here. Also here with us is the Koguna of Sokoto State, Dr. Danladi Bako, former DG, Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. It's a pleasure to have you join us. Otumba Shegun Rusewe, OON, is here as well, former DG, National Council for Arts and Culture. We're happy to have you. Respected members of the academia, we have the VC of University of Ibadan here, Professor Kayode Adebowale. MNI, you're most welcome, sir. All other superb chairmen from Kogi State, Abdul Razak Mohammed, Professor Daudu, the Deputy VC of Academy Laswed, representing the VC. We have respected members and founding fathers of Nigeria from Pa Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Ahmadu Bello. The family and their representatives are here. Please, can you give them a round of applause as we respectfully welcome them here today? The founder management of Independent Newspaper Limited and the organizing committee, as well as respected dignitaries here seated, gentlemen of the press, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this grand celebration and Platinum Award Gala Night commemorating 70 years of free primary education in Nigeria. Tonight, we gather not just to reminisce about history, but to celebrate the visionaries, reformers, and modern champions who have carried forward the torch of free and inclusive education across Nigeria. From the foundational leadership of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Sir Ahmadu Bello, to the effort of contemporary policymakers, teachers, and advocates, tonight we honor their impact and sacrifice. This Platinum Jubilee Award is more than an event. It is a tribute to knowledge, empowerment, and opportunity. It is also a reminder that education remains the greatest investment a nation can make in its people. Once again, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to this epoch-making occasion. My name is Joshua Akimbola Murakio, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this event. Please, can you give yourselves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? At this point, I'd like to welcome the Managing Director, Editor-in-Chief of Independent Newspaper Limited, Mr. Steve Omanufemi, a seasoned journalist, administrator, and visionary media leader, to help us with the welcome remarks. Please, can you give me a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
Your Excellencies, Honorable Commissioners, heads of the academia, well, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here today. We felt at Independent that we should contribute to the thought processes of this country, and so we felt we should go back in time to look at our educational system. We all know that the primary education is the foundation, and if we miss it, things won't be work with the wire. So we look back at, this is the 17th year of free primary education in this country. And so let's go back in history and try to think how we can improve primary education in this country. And so we invited this, our renowned guest lecturer to talk about it. I'm not a lecturer, I'm here just to welcome you to this occasion, and I plead you to listen and so that we can forge a way to make education better for this country. Thank you.
Can you please give Mr. Steve Omanufemi another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? That was brief and concise. Well, I'd like to recognize His Excellency, the Governor of Taraba State, Dr. Abu Kefas, represented here by Honorable Janet Onyajuvu, Senior Special Assistant. Please, can you give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? You are most welcome. We'd like to get to the business of tonight, and it is very important, the person I will be inviting in the next couple of minutes. It is my honor and delight to introduce to you a man whose intellect, innovation, and leadership have made remarkable contribution to Nigeria's development story. He is a globally respected scholar, engineer, inventor, and policy leader, a former Minister of Power, a professor of mechanical and industrial engineering, and a pioneer in Nigeria's quest for energy reform and technological advancement. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome for his lecture, though brief but concise, our keynote speaker, Professor Bath Naji. Please make him welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Please, can we give him another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, Mr. Chairman, Chief B.C. Akonde, the panelists here, Dr. Danladi Bako, Otumba Shegun Ransowe. I also want to salute the families of the former, the premiers, the first premiers of the country, who formed this whole concept of universal education. I understand that Her Excellency Professor Mrs. Uche Azikiwe is here. I also greet the families, the representatives of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the foundation member of this universal education, the founder of this universal education, and also Alhaji Amadou Bello, represented here. I greet Alhaji Lai Mohammed. I also greet representatives of governors here and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Well, this public lecture, I must really applaud independent newspapers for thinking it right to have a discussion about universal education, considering where we are in our country about education. So it is, as said, it will be unusually brief. I have agreed with the organizers that that I will touch on a couple of critical issues and leave them with a panel of experts who happen to be here. I may intervene if needed here and there. Education represents progress. The most fundamental difference between the developed nations and the developing ones is the level and quality of education. A leading African-American civil rights activist, Ella J. Baker, who passed away in 1986, but was really born in 1903, so she lived quite long, famously quipped, "Show the light, and the people will find the way." So this speech, what I'm speaking is titled, "Show the light, and the people will find the way." That's what it is. The great Sheikh of Africa reflected this statement in his Renaissance Africa and also made it the motto of his crusading West African Pilot newspaper when it was founded in 1937. The launch of free universal primary education in Western region by Chief Obafemi Awolowo government on January 17, 1955, was a most important development in our nation's history. It led to massive enrollment figures in schools in the Western region. When General Olusegun Obasanjo government launched a similar scheme in the mid-1970s, there was an unprecedented upsurge in primary school enrollment throughout the Federation. In 1979, when the Unity Party of Nigeria controlled Lagos, Oyo, Ogun, Ondo, and Bendel states and launched the Universal Primary Education Program, school enrollment figures rose quite rapidly. People who were already approaching 20 years of age returned to primary school, showing that poverty was a major impediment in education. I would not have gone beyond primary school, but for the tradition and benevolence and solidarity in my extended family system. In that system, children who showed promise were supported by family members who could. My father supported my uncle, Basil, to go to school, and my uncle rose to become a primary school headmaster. He in turn supported me in primary school. Another uncle, Clement, who was supported in the same way and became a bank manager, also supported us. And that's how we have grown. Family supporting one another. Doesn't necessarily mean that the particular family doesn't have, but it is something that all of us did together. And if you look at the universal education, it is that concept that governments and people join together to ensure that all the children are so educated. Mine was Catholic school, but because the missionaries controlled school system in the then Eastern region. But nonetheless, the concept had been established, and I will talk a little bit about that. So I thank the management and staff of independent newspapers for commemorating the 70th anniversary of free universal education system in Nigeria. It was launched when there were only 3 regions in Nigeria, and the regions were in healthy rivalry. The Western region was the richest. Its main revenue earner, cocoa, was commanding high prices in international markets. Chief Awolowo, an education lover, had the vision to implement it. Besides, he had experienced hardship when he was growing up, which affected his educational pursuit. Like me, he lost his father early. Awo's love of education was such that, despite earning a degree in commerce from the University of London at home, which was a very important achievement in those days, he left his family behind to travel to England to study law. As he wrote in a letter published by Delegiwa's Sunday Concord in September 1980, Chief Awolowo read law to enable him to be eloquent, as he thought at the time, like the great Zik, after watching Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe address meetings of the Nigerian youth movement in Lagos. The rivalry between Nigerian nationalists did not prevent Chief Awolowo from launching his historic Tribune newspapers, Nigeria's oldest surviving newspaper, on November 16, 1949, Zik's 45th birthday. What lesson can the present generation of Nigerians learn from our nationalists? It was predictable that the launch of free universal education in the West was going to spur the Eastern Nigerian region to declare free education. Free education in the East was, however, a qualified success. As President Jimmy Carter of the United States would put it, a qualified success. It was fiercely opposed by the Catholic Church, which owned or managed most schools, including all primary and secondary schools that I attended. Besides, there were not enough public schools, buildings, and facilities. So Eastern region was by far the poorest of the three regions because palm produce, its main revenue earner, was fetching modest revenue. It could not grapple with the challenges of free universal education. But as I've noted, this was a period of healthy competition among the component groups of the Nigerian Federation. When Great Zik couldn't do what he couldn't do through the free primary or through free education, he tried to make up through other strategies. For instance, he inspired and motivated communities to embrace education with gusto. They mobilized funds to award scholarships to promising community members, a practice which was captured in Achebe's No Longer at Ease. The result was that between 1945 and 1965, before the crisis of Nigeria, the region had wiped out their educational handicap. So the region, the East, had begun to compete in the same way with the West, and the North had also cued in. I want to say that the model which Zik used in the East is what we, even in our family, began to use, which is the families would support free education. And so my family support the creation of free education for nursery, primary, and secondary school in our community. And it has been very, very helpful. The healthy competition continued after independence when Eastern Region inaugurated the University of Nigeria at Nsukka in 1960. Western Region launched the University of Ife in 1962. And Northern Region commissioned later the same year the University of Northern Nigeria at Zaria, which eventually the name was changed to Ahmadu Bello University in honor of the Sardauna. This is healthy rivalry we would expect from states because it makes for rapid national progress. So we ask, why is it not happening today? So, you know that when even Chief Jim Obodo launched Anambra State University of Science and Technology, Governor Melford Okilo responded with Rivers State University of Science and Technology. And Governor Lateef Jakonde set up the Lagos State University. And the graduates are of very high quality from these schools. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to mark the 70th anniversary of free universal education in Nigeria. This is good. For countries like Germany have prospered through free education at all levels. Our nationalists who led us to independence had a good educational foundation for us. The main challenge facing us now, where do we go from here? What is the future of education in Nigeria? On September 23 this year, at the annual Fafunwa Memorial Lecture that I came to speak about, Fafunwa, Professor Aliyu Fafunwa, CONNOM, former Minister of Education, had done so much in education. So at that lecture, I called attention to the imperative of embracing artificial intelligence in our education system, starting from primary school. But I wondered how our pupils could be taught artificial intelligence, even in secondary school, when most rural communities, the teachers are not computer literate. I therefore propose that the federal government, all state governments, and all the 774 local government areas in the country to jointly work on pooling funds together to ensure that every teacher in these communities have access to a computer. They should really have computers. So President Obasanjo's administration did something similar in a way, because they were able to pool funds to provide each divisional police officer in the country with a Toyota Prado SUV to enhance security nationwide. But we also have to remember that there was such a time that we had, that we produced vehicles. I was talking with my colleagues earlier. We produced vehicles in Nigeria, and all of the top government officials rode in them. When I was Minister of Science and Technology in the early 90s, my vehicles were Peugeot vehicles. And even the head of state at the time drove in a Peugeot car. Think of what the foreign exchange will look like if we did that, and how it could impact in providing what I'm talking about, these computers. How much do we spend in purchasing vehicles for public officers at the federal level, at state level, and local government levels? Just think about that. So, I want to say that the AI it's not just like a craze. It's not like a .com phenomenon that will just go away. It's here to stay. And Nigeria would need to be part of it. For Nigeria to be part of it, then the computing technology needs to be available. I personally, when I finished my doctorate in America, I went to MIT to take a program in artificial intelligence and robotics. And it certainly was the foundation of a lot of research I did as a professor in America. And I'll tell you, it's not going away. What it is manifesting, and our people need to be very much in the vanguard of this. But the only way is computer technology. So lastly, I would like the panelists to spare some moments on the quality of education in public primary and secondary schools. When I traveled to the United States in 1977, my studies in physics, mathematics, and engineering, I did well. And the only reason why I did well was that I went to schools that provided me the background. And I can tell you that those of us who went to school at that time, many of my colleagues are here, cannot be said to be disadvantaged in comparison to those who are in the Western countries. I also have to tell you that many Chinese, Indian, and other Asian students come to, when I was a professor in America, they come to study with us. But it was because their grounding was of the same quality, similar to what we have. So at the University of Massachusetts, we'll take a student from the Indian Institute of Technology who had first class, and there is such a thing as first class with distinction, and those are the people that we bring there, and they will just be first class in the university. We can continue to have the same thing. We used to have it, so it's not our brain. It is actually what we do to provide that quality education now that matters. And so both the government and the private sector need to do it. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we must see education as the fundamental instrument of development. We, that is both the government and us, the citizens, must do everything in our capacity to give it free to all of our children. I thank Your Excellencies, the management and staff of independent newspapers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for your time. God bless you. Thank you.
Please, can you give Professor Bath Naji another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? That was a succinct lecture, ably capturing from the historical to the present day and the need for us to involve and move forward, making use of AI in our present day form of education. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, once again, can you give Professor Bath Naji another round of applause? I'd like to inform this august gathering that this public lecture and award ceremony is being beamed live on News Central on DSTV 422 and GoTV 23. So we are live as we speak. I'd like to quickly, before we call on the panelists for a brief analysis of the presentation of Professor Bath, I'd like to recognize the representative of the Governor of Kano State, Governor Abba Yusuf, ably represented here by Comrade Ibrahim Abdullahi Waijai, Commissioner for Information and Internal Affairs. Thank you very much, sir. Accompanied by Honorable Haladu. I also like to recognize the grandson of Sir Amadou Bello, Mustafa Shehu Malami. Please, can you give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much, sir, for being here. It is my pleasure as well to recognize the representative of the Taraba State Governor, Dr. Abu Kefa. I'd like to, as well, recognize Chief Henry Odukomaya, ex-MD Champions newspaper, represented here by Mr. Odukomaya Roland. Please, can you give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. Also here with us is the chairman of Dark Communication PLC, represented, I'm talking about Chief Raymond Dokpesi Jr., represented here by Dr. Christopher Eboitse, General Manager, AIT Lagos. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I'd like to invite our panelists, very capable and eminent broadcaster and art connoisseur, Please make welcome for their contribution in the next couple of minutes, Dr. Danladi Bako and of course, Otumba Shegun Rushewe. Please, can you give both of them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Please, you can come forward. Please, let's encourage them. Let's give them a lusty round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Incidentally, I've been co-opted as the moderator. One of the good things of being a broadcaster is you can actually function and navigate your way around conversations such as this. And of course, I've been told we've got the next 10 minutes to talk about this. I would like to start with you, Dr. Danladi Bako. First, perhaps your thoughts on the presentation of Professor Bath Naji. What can you make of it, and how does this move our education system, talking about primary 70 years ago to the present day education? How do we move it forward?
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, the chairman of the occasion, Chief B.C. Akande, former governor 1999 to 2007. I recognize the management of independent newspapers. I recognize all the representatives of the governors here. I recognize the former Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Professor Bath Naji is not just a name. He is an intellectual, he's a professional, and he spoke with candor, and he traced the history of how primary education started, how it affected in the Southwest, how it was handled in the North, and how it was handled in the East. And of course, all those that were responsible for that progression, he recognized them. Most importantly, he drew our attention to the fact that there was healthy competition. As at 1999, I was Director General of NBC, and I visited about 3 states in the Southwest. I visited Chief B.C. Akande, I visited Chief Fashoranti, then I visited Ashiwaju, and I noticed what healthy competition was, because they all worked hard to carry on the legacies of the parties they represented. So today, when you see and do an analysis of 36 states, you ask yourself, what do the governors really do? Do they compare notes? The opportunity of having a governors forum is to compare notes. The opportunities of having a Northern Governors Forum is also to compare notes. How often do the commissioners of information, commissioners of education compare notes whenever they meet? Do they have time to meet? How do they discuss the economic policies, the educational policies of their states? So, why do we still have a low literacy level in some parts of the North? Sometimes secondary school, barely 15% literacy level. And that is sad, because if we had followed where Ahmadu Bello started, by now we should have somewhere like 60% literacy level. And why? What are the problems? Some parents do not think it is worthwhile going to primary school, because when the child finishes his primary school, what happens? Sometimes they don't get jobs, they don't get secondary school education. Sometimes there are other demands. They can't eat. They can't do anything. So the children are sent out to go and roam the streets and sell granite in the morning before going to school at 9 a.m. So in many parts of this country, you'll find children roaming the streets at 9 a.m. You'll ask, don't they have teachers? Even at 12 noon, children have left the school. They're going back home. Of course, don't even talk about rainy season. Rainy season, the parents take them to go and do farm. So, have we tackled those problems? What are the solutions? How are the governors handling this? What is their agenda for education? 80% of the time when people go out to campaign, I don't hear them talking about education at primary level. I hear them talking about, I'll give youth 40% of my cabinet, women 30%. If these youths are not educated, what are they going to do with the 40% you're going to give them? So we have all these challenges. In some parts of the Southeast, they would rather send a boy of 5 to go and learn to be an apprentice of a spare part dealer rather than go to primary school. True or false? So who is to blame? Where do we start? So we have challenges like that. And of course, quite clearly, when I was growing up, you had to go to Quranic school in the evenings. We managed it in such a way that in the mornings you went to proper Western education, in the evenings you went to Islamia. But as we speak today, President Jonathan came to Sokoto in 2011 and set up Quranic schools and Islamia. Those schools have been abandoned. If you go there now, rats and lizards are all over those schools. Why? The kind of consultation that was done about the quality of primary school education and the integration process was weak. And just to round off for this section, the moment you don't have quality primary education, everything else that you do upwards is zero, is gone. So poor quality education at the primary school level is bad. I can assure you that even now as we speak, for you to admit people into reading education in the university, they admit people who scored 140 in JAMB to become teachers. So when a person that scored 140 in JAMB becomes your teacher in primary school, by the time you finish that secondary school, your brain is as poor as that 140 JAMB. So how can you pass your exam when the lecturer that taught you scored 140? And they send them to education. Go and read education physics. Go and read education geography. Go and read education chemistry, education history. So we have problems. Fortunately, I was privy to the manifesto of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. I was part of it. I was campaign manager, and I know there are segments of that document, manifesto, that deals with quality education starting from primary school level. We pray that we get to do it before the end of this tenure.
Please, can you give Dr. Danley Debako a round of applause? He has put it succinctly, and I'll just come for you just to wrap up for 30 seconds, but let me come to Otumba here. And that is, in the 50s and 60s, we have those who anchored their governance on education. We have Ahmadu Bello, we have Awolowo, we have Nnamdi Azikiwe. They felt that the people need education to thrive. That's the future. So who takes the lead now, today? Or how do we go about it? They talked about the challenge of not comparing notes among governors in Nigeria to make it a healthy competition. So who takes the lead now, and how do we go forward with our education, especially the basic level?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to express some views on our educational system in our great country. But permit me today to celebrate a great leader, Chief B.C. Akonde, CFR. I was opportune to be with him when he granted an interview on this subject. Believe me, it was like going for another lecture class for like 1 year. Chief B.C. Akonde exposed everything in total. And today, I married what Chief B.C. Akonde said with Professor Bat Naj. And my dear brother here, Kogun and Sokoto, have said some things. But let me apologize because I may offend some people. The Yorubas have a saying that when two brothers enter the room, they come out smiling. They've not told themselves the truth. I will start by celebrating Independence Limited for bringing this subject up at this material time. 70 years after, I beg for everyone to give Daily Independence a round sound of applause. Really, we should celebrate them because, and also today, all the governors represented here today, I pray God will bless all the states. We must sit down and agree, like Danladi Bako mentioned. We don't even compare notes. Some of us are ready to celebrate Big Brother Nigeria, the video dancing and etc. Today, our Nigerian youth are becoming criminals, kidnappers, etc. The reason is lack of proper education. We are disconnected. And people are here today discussing how to make the progress. How do we make it? When teachers are now selling handouts to students. If you pay more, you get more marks. If you don't have money to buy their handout, you have failed. Please, Nigeria was a great country when we started this educational stuff. University of Ibadan, the VC is here. At a time, Plateau State in Jos was having a campus of University of Ibadan. Even in Ilorin, there was no healthy competition. We're not arguing with each other. Please, the time has come. I'm appealing. Enough of all this speaking English and we end up going again back home. Nothing happens. I think the governors must sit down and check and have a KIV development strategy on what is being done well. Before I round up, please, not every student should become a PhD holder. Please, we have to start to develop our institutions. A student, for instance, in my sector, you don't need a PhD to become one of the best. In fact, if you make F9, you are useful in culture and tourism because it's creativity. What can you produce? We have so many university students today that have never seen the engine of a car. And they have BSc, they have MSc, they have everything. Please, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm making an appeal here today. Let us leave this place today with a new look of Nigerian educational system. While I say this, in 1959, when the Queen of England sent a team to meet the Tafawa Balewa, the Awolowo, the Azikwe at Tafawa Balewa Square here, nobody is talking of, do you have PhD? Do you have BSc? Do you have PhD? No. How can we develop what will make Nigerian to be great? Some people struggle to take Nigerian to where we are today. While I round up, please, Chief M.K.O. Abiola, when he was alive, he said something. No matter how intelligent a man is or a woman, you cannot clap with one hand. I plead with all Nigerians, let's join hands with Daily Independence newspaper to clap and make a new Nigerian for the best of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I've got 2 minutes more. Dr. Bako, I'd just like you to just wrap up and help us with your thoughts on how to get this going as far as education is concerned.
I had the rare privilege of interviewing Professor Aliu Babatunde Fafunwa on Morning Ride in the 80s about 4 or 5 times. That's when he talked about 6334, each one teach one. He continued with these legacies of Sir Ahmadu Bello, Awolowo, and Nnamdi Azikiwe. As we speak, the level of enrollment in primary school seems to be stagnant because there's not enough funding. The teachers are not well taken care of. Primary school teachers now with an NCE, up till last year were earning 15,000 naira. An NCE teacher in a primary school in Sokoto earns 15,000 naira. Now that is difficult to handle. So we have all of those things. I will only appeal that the governors make more efforts. I think some of them are making an effort, some of them are trying, but the primary school is where it should be. Unfortunately, the Constitution of Nigeria leaves the primary school education to local government chairmen and co. How many of those local government chairmen are interested in education? How many of them even have the education? Let's assume that you are not even interested in education. How many of them want to provide technical skills? How many of them want to provide handcrafts? When I was in secondary school, I learned about physics, Archimedes' principle of flotation buoyancy from 3. That wasn't useful to me anymore. Archimedes' principle of flotation buoyancy did not make sense to me after I left Form 3. Gay-Lussac's law in chemistry, I didn't use it anytime. What kind of education do we produce that will produce functional secondary school students that will go on from there to acquire skills, technical skills? In the Chinese and Malaysian and Far East, secondary school students produce all these lamps that we go and buy in the market. Lamps, these fluorescent lamps, they produce them. At the age of 16, 17, what do we produce here? And how can we produce them? And how can we make our educational system functional just in case a student stops at primary school level? Can he be useful? If he can, then we give glory to God. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Otumba, your pattern short.
Thank you very much. You see, I want us to look at one aspect today. So many of our graduates only have the certificate in their hand without any form of practical knowledge. We should change that attitude and bring in the practicality of everything we study. And I'd like to mention quickly here today, why do we bring out 200,000 graduates of chemical engineering? Where is the chemical we are working on? Why don't you prioritize what can make our country better? You bring out engineers, building engineers, who don't even know how to mix cement with the right sand. Please, ladies and gentlemen, for the future of this country, like it said in our national anthem, so that the labor of our heroes shall not be in vain. The time has come. We should change our attitude to make Nigeria a better place for the unborn Nigerians. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please can you give our panelists a round of applause? I want to say thank you very much, Dr. Danladi Bako, Koguna of Sokoto, for putting it very well as to let's make this worthwhile as far as our education is concerned. And please help me thank Otumba Segun Rusewe, OON, for your thought and the fact that when you acquire your education, make sure it counts. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please can you give our panelists another round of applause? I think I'm aware that some plaque will be given to you. Please, can I invite the MD to help present the plaques to our panelists? Please, can you give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? While he is about to do that, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please, I'd like to tell you that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is here. Can somebody clap? The President is here. Please, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, is here, ably represented by the Executive Secretary, Universal Basic Education, Aisha Garba. Please, can you give her a round of applause? Thank you, Mr. President, for honoring our invitation. Thank you very much. Can I crave the indulgence of Professor Bath Naji to please come to the podium for your own award? Please, can you give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much, sir. He delivered a wonderful keynote address. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, can you give Professor Bath Naji a round of applause? And of course, our MD, Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Steve Omanufemi for the presentation. Your Excellencies, please, okay, can I invite all our panelists and Professor Bath Naji for a photo op? Just quickly, let's do this. Thank you very much, Prof. Can you just come forward? Thank you very much. Please, can we respectfully honor and recognize the wife of Chief Nnamdi Azikiwe, Professor Uche Azikiwe. Please, can you give her a round of applause? That's a living legend, the matriarch of the Azikiwe family. Please, can you give her a resounding applause, a lusty one? Thank you very much, ma'am. We're happy to have you join us here today. Thank you. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving to the second leg of this gathering, and that is the award presentation. But before we go forward with it, please, can you pay attention to the screen as we bring you video of the launch of free universal primary education. Please pay attention to the screen. Thank you.
1955, and the Premier of the Western Region, Chief the Honorable Obafemi Awolowo, broadcasts. He announces the launching of the free universal primary education scheme in the region.
This year, Nigeria marks 70 years since the launch of free universal primary education, a bold experiment that began in the 1950s and one that reshaped the country's destiny. It was a time when three visionary leaders, Obafemi Awolowo in the west, Nnamdi Azikiwe in the east, and Ahmadu Bello in the north, each took different but determined steps to open the doors of learning to their people. In the Western region, on January 17, 1955, the action group led by Chief Obafemi Awolowo had promised the people free education. That morning, the experiment was put to the test. The government expected around 170,000 new entrants, but what they saw was unprecedented. Nearly 390,000 children turned up on the very first day. By the end of that year, enrollment had soared from about 457,000 in 1954 to over 811,000 in 1955. Teacher numbers had to rise quickly from 17,000 to 27,000. The Western region became the first in Africa to achieve large-scale, free and compulsory primary education. It was an ambitious step, and it changed the social fabric of the West forever. 2 years later, the Eastern region rose to the challenge under the leadership of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Premier of the East and leader of the NCNC. Free universal education was introduced in 1957. Enrollment rose sharply from 904,000 in 1956 to over 1.2 million in 1957. Classrooms overflowed and teachers were in short supply. But Azikiwe's insistence on mass education created opportunities for a generation of Eastern Nigerians. That same year, Lagos, then the Federal Territory, adopted free education. As the nation's capital, Lagos ensured that the federal heartbeat of Nigeria was part of this educational revolution. In the northern region, Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sultana of Sokoto, chose a gradual but strategic path. He expanded access through free schooling in rural areas, integrating Quranic and Western education to respect cultural traditions. The Sultana's policies laid the foundation for the North's first generation of educated elites who would later help steer Nigeria after independence. Across the regions, challenges mounted. overcrowded classrooms, hurriedly built schools, and teachers' shortages defined the era. Budgets were stretched to breaking point, yet the hunger for learning was unmistakable. These regional programs showed that Nigerians wanted education and that government could no longer ignore the demand. In 1976, under General Olusegun Obasanjo's military administration, the federal government launched the first nationwide universal primary education (UPE) program. This was a direct descendant of the 1950s regional schemes. The program faced familiar challenges: inadequate infrastructure, overstretched teachers, and funding shortfalls. But it confirmed the federal government's responsibility for education. In 1999, President Obasanjo returned to the same vision, launching the Universal Basic Education (UBE) program. Successive governments from Yar'Adua, Jonathan, Buhari to the current administration, led by Tinubu, invested massively in UBE program. Several state governments across Nigeria's geopolitical zones have since domesticated the UBE Act, with various levels of successes recorded till date.
States like Lagos, Kano, Nasarawa, Ekiti, Kogi, Taraba, Ogun, Anambra, to mention but a few, continue to take giant strides towards making vision of universal basic education as established by our founding fathers a reality for children in their respective states.
Looking back, the story of free education in Nigeria is the story of three visions: Awolowo's bold leap in the West, Azikwe's determination in the East, and Bello's careful groundwork in the North. The original experiment of the 1950s created a momentum that the federal government carried forward in 1976 and again in 1999. 70 years on, classrooms across Nigeria, from city centers to rural villages, still echo with the legacy of those choices. Millions have passed through school because of those bold commitments.
Ladies and gentlemen, please can you give a round of applause for that documentary that chronicles the years of our universal primary education, as well as those leading the fight in ensuring that our people are educated. Once again, another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, I would like to have the chairman's remark. Here I'm talking about one of the pillars of our democracy in Nigeria, a true Democrat and someone who has led not only from behind but from the front, ensuring that our democracy is stable. He's also known for his vocal ability in ensuring that we do the right thing as far as this country is concerned. He's a former governor of Osun State and former chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please can you give Chief Bisi Akonde, CFR, a round of applause as he gives us his remark. Thank you. Oh, Baba can still come here. Please keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I start from the representative of Mr. President, maybe the future woman president of Nigeria. You're welcome. Professor Naji and the panelists, the distinguished, let me say distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Maybe I should have been introduced as one of the pioneering teachers of the 1955 free primary education. Education has conflicting definitions. However, for the purpose of our present discourse, education may be viewed in the context of Nigeria's stage of development 70 years ago, and may be defined with perception and practice as learning by apprenticeship and by imitation. This definition was more applicable in the most rural parts of Nigeria, and particularly then in the Western region, which consisted mostly of rural communities where education through the institutionalized learning, such as what is now known as schools and classified curricula, was very scanty and scattered. Learning through schools and similar institutions then was complicated and confusing to the illiterate parents who, in most parts of Western region, especially because of the existence of numerous madrasa institutions for Muslim children, faced the free education reforms. To further compound the complications and the confusions, the Free Universal Education Project, originally proposed in 1953 by Obafemi Awolowo's Action Group government, was to be compulsory, along with sanctions of imprisonment for defaulting parents. It is unfortunate, however, that the progress of such purposeful education, as then established, became stultified and bastardized by the military intervention in the Nigerian governance. Before the military forcefully imposed themselves as the government of Nigeria, most of all the educational institutions were being methodically established and scrupulously managed by the various diligent educationists among the religious and individual proprietors. There were 4 autonomous regions, each of which was free to decide on its educational policies. These proprietary established and managed schools were appropriately and duly being grant-aided to accommodate the facilities of whatever type of scholarship and whatever type of free education desired by each of the regional governments that had policies for free educations at various levels. Suddenly, these various institutions of learning were forcefully taken over and appropriated by the federal military government in 1976. And these suddenly snatched educational institutions were being handed over to the numerous new states that was being created with new governments and new civil service structures, having no proper trainings and experiences in institutional proprietorship. The various governments became overburdened and overwhelmed by the responsibilities of these expanded modeled facilities. Hence, the present decay being experienced in educational infrastructure, in learning curricula, and in teaching methodology. To celebrate the remnant of the numerous innovations derived from such educational revolutions, which began 70 years ago, is the reason why we now assemble here tonight. I sincerely thank and congratulate the Independent Newspapers Limited for bringing us together as a reminder that universal comprehensive education at all levels is the most important asset for man to be truly independent in any decent society and in a worthy independent country. Long live the Independent Newspapers Limited. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Please, can I invite, please, another round of applause for Baba once again. Please, can I invite the matriarch of the Azikiwe family, Professor Uche Azikiwe, to help present the plaque to Chief B.C. Akonde. Please, can you encourage her by giving her a round of applause? Thank you. Please, can you give Baba B.C. Akonde a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? And thank you very much, Professor Uche Azikiwe. Thank you for helping us with the presentation. Can you give both of them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. I want us to do something very significant now. Okay, I want us to do something very significant, and that is, I'm sure some of us missed it when Baba started the presentation. So I'll just remind us just briefly. And that is, Baba said, some of you do not know that I was one of the pioneer teachers in 1955. So I wonder how many of us were alive then. So can I crave your indulgence to please be on your feet and give Baba another round of applause? Let's do that. Let's celebrate him. Let's celebrate him, ladies and gentlemen. That is significant. Thank you very much, Baba. You deserve much more. Thank you for being a pioneer in educating Nigeria and Nigerians. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to recognize another important dignitary here present, the granddaughter of Sir Ahmadu Bello, former Premier of Northern Region, Hajia Hafsatu Ali Shinkafi. Please, can you give her a round of applause? Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you. Please, let's recognize as well former Minister of Steel Development, Architect Olamilekan Adegbite. Thank you for being here as well. Where is he? Thank you for being here. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to invite Mr. President. I'm sure the President has a message for us because the President is passionate about education. We all know what he's doing as far as the student loan scheme is concerned, making sure that education is available for those who are less privileged or the indigent. Please, can we make welcome the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, ably represented here today by the Executive Secretary, Universal Basic Education Commissioner, Aisha Garba. Please, can you give her a round of applause? That's the President. Thank you very much.
the chairman, His Excellency Chief B.C. Akande, representatives of excellencies, governors of Kogi, Enugu, Nasarawa, Taraba, Lagos, Ogun, Anambra. The managing director, independent newspaper, the management and staff, representative of Sir Ahmedu Bello family, the representatives of Chief Nnamdi Azikiwe family, representatives of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, other dignitaries, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is a profound honor to join you at this historic event organized by the Independent Newspapers Limited to mark 70 years of free universal primary education in Nigeria. 70 years ago in Ibadan, Chief Obafemi Awolowo declared that every Nigerian child, regardless of their circumstances, must have free access to primary education. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe carried the torch to the east in 1957, while Sir Ahmedu Bello extended it to the north in 1960. What began as a regional policy became a national covenant. Our founding fathers did not merely launch a program or a policy. They defined a national identity that Nigeria's greatness is rooted in the enlightenment and education of all. Tonight, we honor that bold vision and the tradition it established. For 7 decades, classrooms built with public funds and sustained by the dedication of our teachers have opened doors of opportunities to millions of Nigerians within and outside the country. Free primary education has served as a ladder out of poverty and bridge to dignity for countless of families across the country. Anniversaries summon us to fidelity. The torch lit in Ibadan must not dim. It is the duty of every government to renew that covenant that education, schooling is the right of every Nigerian child. Under this administration, that renewal has a name, the Renewed Hope Agenda. It is not a slogan, but the organizing principle of this particular administration to make education once again the engine of national renewal, the guarantor of equal citizenship, and the path to shared prosperity. We honor the foresight of Awolowo, Azikiwe, and Ahmedu Bello. We celebrate the teachers and parents who kept faith in their vision. And we declare that this generation will finish what they began. Our success will not be measured by promises, but by the future secured in every community, in every local government, and in every state. Today, education is no longer an aspiration, but is Nigeria's common inheritance. Our charge is to make it a reality, consistently, transparently, for every Nigerian child. We must face the truth with courage while celebrating this milestone. Nigeria is home to more than 230 million people, the Africa's largest population, and one of the youngest in the world, with 70% of our citizens under the age of 30. If we equip this generation with the foundational knowledge and the necessary skills, they will become the drivers of innovation and productivity for decades. At the same time, the advances in digital technology provide us with the opportunity for higher quality education. The machine learning, artificial intelligence are opening new frontiers for transformation in teaching and learning globally. For Nigeria, it provides a unique opportunity to accelerate progress and close the long-standing gaps. Education is not just a social service. It is a national security imperative, economic growth strategy, and it is a moral duty. Every naira we invest in education is an investment in Nigeria's future. Our youth are our greatest asset, but also our most significant test. We cannot stand by while our children are out of school. We must guarantee access and learning. We must deliver quality and equity. Anything less will betray the covenant made 70 years ago. When I assumed office, I declared that our government will place education at the foundation of our national rebirth. Under the Renewed Hope agenda, education now stands at the center of policy, financing, and governance. For too long, the sector was fragmented. Agencies worked in silos and uncoordinated. That era has ended. Through the Nigeria Education Sector Renewal Initiative of the Federal Ministry of Education, every parastatal, UBEC, Universal Basic Education Commission, TED Fund, NCCE, NERDC, NEL Fund are all aligned on the one sector plan, on the one vision, under a clear budget. We also confronted the hard truth that Nigeria lacked reliable education data. That is why we launched the Nigeria Education Data Initiative at the Federal Ministry of Education, our first real-time national data platform. Data has become our tool of accountability. Today, we're working to know all the children that are enrolled, all the children that are out of school, where our teachers are, and how teachers and schools are performing. The Universal Basic Education Commission has evolved from a grand administrator to true system reformer, guided by its strategic blueprint, which focuses on increasing equitable access in all parts of Nigeria, improved quality learning, stronger financing, and institutional reform nationwide. Basic education reform also include the revise of the federal government matching grant formula, which provides states with greater flexibility to address specific education gaps, and build accountable system in using education funds. For the first time in more than 20 years, the Basic Education Action Plan has been revised, allowing states to access the federal government grant and plan effectively and to be digitally tracked and transparent in effective implementation and delivery of basic education services. As a result of these reforms, within a year, more than 28 states have accessed 70% of the unaccessed funds that have been laid for many years at the federal government. These funds have now been unlocked to accelerate further investments in education, to improve access and quality in every state and every local government. We have doubled the government budgetary allocation, and we have mobilized development financing for education, reaching children across all parts of Nigeria. Development partners, state governments, parents, teachers, other key stakeholders, they continue to play invaluable roles in basic education. These reforms are already showing visible results. Within 2 years, over 500,000 teachers are being trained on pedagogical methodologies to improve quality teaching to our children. More than 20 million that are within the basic education sector in Nigeria are being positively impacted with the ongoing interventions. We have rolled out a new national school curriculum for basic education, which reintroduces history and the study of Nigerian languages to strengthen national identity and foster unity. Over 10,000 classrooms are being built, and over 1,935,000 classrooms are being renovated. We have distributed over 1 million textbooks nationwide. Through NEL Fund, 600,000 young Nigerians have secured financing, and they can now pursue higher education without fear of exclusion. Opportunity is no longer tied to family wealth. This year, we're investing millions in technical vocational education training, with 38 new technical colleges established. By 2030, 5 million youth will be trained as artisans, technicians, and coders. This shows how this administration is honoring the covenant of 1955 with reform, with systematic renewal, and with proof and impact on the ground. The promise made in 1955 did not belong to one region. It became the conscience of a nation. Today, that promise is alive in every zone, adapted to local realities, delivered through state leadership, and measured by results. Inclusion will be paramount. Exclusion will be treated as an emergency. From the girl child to the child with disability, to the child that is out of school, from the displaced learner to the rural child, every Nigerian child and citizen must find a place in classroom. 70 years ago, our founding fathers lit a torch of mass education. It has never dimmed. and with God on our side, it will only get brighter. Under the Renewed Hope agenda, we recommit to that covenant. Every Nigerian child must be in school, must learn, and must be prepared for a life of dignity and opportunity. We declare this as our national duty. Let history record that we did not merely celebrate the 1955, but honored its mandate, turning the era of free education into living reality of learning for all. Let the world say of Nigeria, here is a nation that made education the heartbeat of its democracy, the cornerstone of its economy, and the soul of its future. Thank you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Please, can you give Mr. President another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much, ma'am, for delivering that speech very well. A few words or few phrases caught my attention. The first is education is no longer an aspiration but a right. And the latter part of that speech was every child must find a place in the classroom. I think that is a hope that is renewed. Please, can we give Mr. President another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? I'd like to quickly recognize the representative of Oba Oladimeji Latif Egbeyemi Madarikan 1 Ologba of Ogba Kingdom, Chief Adewale Oshoanifowose, the Ashoju Oba of Ogba Kingdom. Please, can you give him a round of applause? Kabiyesi. I also like to recognize Group Chairman, Mutual Benefits Assurance PLC, Dr. Akin Ogunbiyi. We are happy to have you join us here today. Thank you for being our guest. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, while we are, of course, the aroma or the scent of this room has changed, and I think it makes for a more convivial atmosphere. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to one of the important parts of this program. For every awardee that will be given today, we'll have a short recap of our eminent personalities that will be receiving the award. First is the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, followed by, if we have our programs with us, it is clearly stated there, and we'll follow in that particular order. So, if I can get the prompting. So, our first award will be going to the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Our award is about being the Education Ambassador, Her Excellency Senator Oluremi Tinubu, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Independent Ambassador for Education, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, First Lady of Nigeria. As First Lady of Nigeria, Oluremi Tinubu's education achievements focus on promoting access to schooling and providing scholarships for students. This continues as a long-standing advocacy for youth and women education, which began during her time as the First Lady of Lagos State.
Please, can you give the First Lady a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Can we crave the indulgence of Baba Bisi Akonde, Chief, to help us present it to the representative of the President? Thank you very much. Please, can you give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chief Bisi Akonde, and of course, the representative of the President helping us to receive that award. The next award will be the Governor of Nasarawa State. Please, can we pay attention to the screen? After the short clip, I will invite Otumba Rushewe to help us present the award to the representative of the Governor.
Independent Ambassador for Education, Governor Abdullahi Sule, Executive Governor of Nasarawa State. Governor Sule of Nasarawa State has focused on comprehensive reforms in the education sector since his election in 2019, with efforts spanning infrastructure development, teacher recruitment, and innovative funding initiatives. In 2025, the state prioritized education by allocating it the largest portion of the budget.
Very much. Can we invite, please, Otumba Rushewe and the representative of the Governor? Please, can you give them a round of applause? Let's encourage them, please. Thank you very much. Dr. John Mamman, the Commissioner for Education. Thank you very much, sir. The next person is the Governor of Ekiti State, Education Ambassador, His Excellency Governor Abiodun Oyebanji.
Independent Ambassador for Education, Governor Abiodun Oyebanji, the Executive Governor of Ekiti State. Under Governor Oyebanji's administration, Ekiti State has implemented several initiatives to improve its education sector, focusing on infrastructure, technology, and access. These efforts are part of a broader human capital development agenda.
Please, can we welcome the representative of the Governor of Ekiti State, Professor Femi Akinwumi, the Executive Chairman, Ekiti Subeb. Please, can you give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much, sir. Can you send her warm regards to the Governor of Ekiti State? Thank you very much. Can you give him a round of applause one more time, sir? Please, the next award will be going to the Governor of Kogi State, His Excellency Governor Usman Ododo, Education Ambassador. He is ably represented here today as well. Please, can you give the representative of the Governor of Kogi State a round of applause? From what I can see here, I'm now the commentator. The Governor is doing very well. Please, can you give the Governor a round of applause? Can we have the representative of the Governor of Kogi State, please? Thank you very much, sir. Please, can you give him a round of applause? Mr. Wemi Jones, FCIB Honorable Commissioner for Education. Thank you very much, sir. Can we queue up the Governor of Lagos State? I can see the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Gbenga Omotosho. Thank you very much for being here. Please, you can. Thank you very much. Can you give Otumba Rushewe a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? So, can we have the Governor of Lagos State, our host governor, on the screen?
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Executive Governor of Lagos State. His Excellency Babajide Sanwo-Olu has focused on education reform through his administration's Themes Plus agenda. His contributions include a technology-driven education program called Eco Excel, significant investment in infrastructure, the establishment of new state universities, and increased attention to technical and vocational training.
Please, can you give the Lagos State Government a round of applause as we invite the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Agbenga Omotosho, to receive the award. Can I crave the indulgence of Professor Bath Naji to help us with the presentation of this award to the Honorable Commissioner? Please, can you give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Please, can you give the Honorable Commissioner a round of applause? Can you just come this way? Can we have the cue for the Governor of Kano State? Thank you very much.
Independent Ambassador for Education, His Excellency Abba Kabir Yusuf, the Executive Governor of Kano State. Abba Kabir Yusuf has focused on education, declaring a state of emergency in the sector and backing it with substantial budget allocations. The administration has claimed significant achievements in both academic performance and infrastructure development.
Can we please make welcome Comrade Ibrahim Abdullahi Wajia, Commissioner for Information, Internal Affairs, representing the Governor of Kano State, to come take. Can you give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. All the way from Kano, Sanuda Zua. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Weya. Nagani. Please, can you give Comrade Ibrahim Abdullahi Weya another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? That's a good thing. One more. Can we have the short clip out? Yes, Taraba State there.
Independent Ambassador for Education, Governor Abu Kefas, Executive Governor of Taraba State. Abu Kefas has implemented a free and compulsory education policy and undertaken major reforms across the education sector since he took office in May 2023. The administration has focused on improving infrastructure, reduce tuition costs, and provide educational materials to students.
Can you please welcome the representative of His Excellency, the Governor of
Independent
Taraba
Ambassador
State
for Education, Governor Abu Kefas.
Thank you very much. The thing was so sweet that they played it twice. Please make welcome Honorable Janet Inyayo, Senior Special Assistant, the Governor of Taraba State. Can you give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Please, can you give Professor Bath Naji a round of applause? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. At this point, we'd like to I'm not aware of the representative of the governor of Bayelsa State and Ogun State here. So we'll be moving very swiftly to the Posthumous Legacy Award to Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Sir Amadu Bello. Of course, at this point, I'd like to invite the President, ably represented here, to do us the honors. So first, I would like to start with the grandchildren of Sir Amadu Bello, here present with us. Okay, I have just one name with me presently, Ajia Afsatu Ali Shinkafi, the granddaughter of Sir Amadu Bello, of course, the former Premier of Northern Region, and the grandson is here as well. Please, can we make them welcome as they get the Posthumous Legacy Award? That's a no mean feat. Please, can you give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
Award to Sir Amadu Bello. As the first Premier of Northern Nigeria, Sir Amadu Bello's major contribution to education was his pragmatic and modernizing vision for the region, which emphasized catching up with the South through accelerated development. His achievements include the establishment of the Amadu Bello University, ABU, the expansion of Western education, and reforms to traditional Islamic schooling.
Please, can I invite respectfully the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably represented here by the Executive Secretary of UBEC, Aisha Garba, to help us with the presentation. Can you give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. The next will be that of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. Thank you very much, ma'am. Congratulations. Please, can you give them a round of applause? I can only imagine what it means to be the grandchildren of Sir Amadu Bello, the Premier of the Northern Region. That is no Bawasabani. Thank you. Please, can you give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. Mr. President, don't go yet. We'll still have your, you just come here. The next is the short docu on Sir Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, as we invite the matriarch of the family, the wife of Chief Nnamdi Azikiwe, Professor Uche Azikiwe, to receive the award.
Independent Legacy Award to Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. As Premier of the Eastern Region, Nnamdi Azikiwe founded the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, UNN, in 1960. He also promoted mass education, encouraged Nigerians to pursue studies abroad, and championed the philosophy that education was a vital tool for national development.
Round of applause as they take the award. Can we give them a round of applause? If our hands are not busy. Thank you very much, ma'am. The next is the pioneer himself, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Can we have the representative here? Thank you very much. Please, let's pay attention to the screen as we take the short documentary. Thank you.
As Premier of the Southern Region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo's contributions to education in Nigeria were transformative, most notably through his introduction of the first free universal primary education program in the Western region in 1955. A firm believer that education was the key to national development and a good life, his policies greatly increased literacy and created opportunities for millions.
Please, can you give them a round of applause, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, as he receives the award. I would like to crave the indulgence of the family of Sir Ahmadu Bello, as well as our grandmother here, to help us come on the stage as we have a group photograph together just to celebrate the pioneers, those who have blazed the trail and ensure that we are all educated here today. Can I have the family of Sir Ahmadu Bello and, of course, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe on the stage? Don't go, sir. The face of those that ensure that education is available to millions of Nigerians. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can we give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, if our hands are not busy? Thank you very much. So can we cue up the short intro for the governor of Bayelsa State? I'm aware that their flights were delayed, so they just got into the hall now, all the way from Bayelsa State. You know that place, the terrain is not that easy. You have to go through the waters and all that. Their plane also swam a little bit, but eventually they got to Lagos through the sea. Thank you very much. Or they followed the coastal road that we're building now, and they got here eventually. Please, can you give the representatives of the governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Doye Diri, Dr. Gento Emela, and the Chief Press Secretary as well, Dan Alabra, a round of applause. Thank you for being here. Eventually, we are happy to have you. How was your flight? Thank you very much. Please, let's have the short documentary as I invite them to come get their award for the governor of Bayelsa State.
Independent Ambassador for Education, His Excellency Doye Diri, Executive Governor of Bayelsa State. Under the administration of Governor Diri, Bayelsa State has achieved progress in education through new reforms, infrastructure development, and programs to boost both literacy and vocational skills. In October 2025, Bayelsa was named one of the top 5 states in Nigeria for student performance in the recent NECO examinations.
Dr. Danla Dibako is very busy now, so let me allow him be. Can I invite the representative of the governor of Bayelsa State, here present the Commissioner for Education, and Dr. Clement Emela, as well as the MD of Daily Independent newspaper, to help us do the honors. Can you give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. Thank you. This gathering just reminded me of a very good Yoruba wedding. Before you even start the event, there's food. Yes. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Congratulations. The next set of awards we'll be having for the Education Ambassador, and I'm aware that they are here in this particular order as well. Mr. Jacob Idungafa, please, for his outstanding contribution to the development of education. Please, can we have the representative of the Enugu State Governor to please help us present the award? Thank you very much. Mr. Jacob Idungafa, please, can you come forward? Thank you.
Idungafa is the Chief Executive Officer of Fairtex Group, an oil and gas company with operations across Africa. He established the GICF out of a personal commitment to complementing government efforts in social empowerment. He has stated that his goal is to use his platform to rescue his community and to secure the future of children through educational leverage.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jacob Idungafa, please can you give him a round of applause? Thank you, ma'am. Up next is Dr. Emmanuel Abraham. Thank you very much. Ma, don't go yet. You'll help us do the honors of the remaining two. The next is Dr. Emmanuel Abraham for his contribution to his community, of course, today.
Independent Ambassador for Education, Dr. Emmanuel T. Abraham. Dr. Emmanuel Abraham is a Nigerian educationist and entrepreneur who has made significant contributions to the education sector through his work as the founder of Top Faith Group of Institutions. Abraham founded a tuition-free primary school in the Impatak community of Akwa Ibom State.
Yeah. Congratulations, sir. Please. He's representing Dr. Emmanuel Abraham all the way from Akwa Ibom State. And all I can say is Abadie. Idioko. Okay, good. Please come this way. Thank you. Up next is Dr. Andy Ayo, CEO, ECEWS. Thank you. Ma'am, sorry, our governor.
Independent Ambassador for Education, the Excellence Community Education Welfare Scheme, ECEWS. It has significantly contributed to education in Nigeria through targeted projects, teacher training, and support for vulnerable children since its founding in 2001. The organization's initiatives often integrate with public health and economic empowerment to provide holistic community support.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, can you give the representative of the Governor of Enugu State a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we're coasting home, and it's been a very wonderful evening of award. But most importantly, I think it's a good evening to celebrate those who have pioneered the course of history by getting people to know, to understand, and of course, to help their own lives. Education does that. Education opens up frontiers and, of course, opportunities that one cannot easily accede to. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Prof, sorry, I have to bring you upstairs to speak on behalf of all the recipients. Just a short remark on behalf of the recipient of this award tonight. Please, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the wife of the Chief Nnamdi Azikiwe, Professor Uche Azikiwe, to help us with some remarks. Please, can you give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
I have to apologize for coming late. I came in this evening, and age is no longer on my side, so I had to take a little bit rest before coming in. I'm really sorry. I stand on existing protocol before I make any mistake that will cost me a lot. Education, as we all know, is the root of every development, any development, all developments, aspects of development in the society. I want to summarize. We've all eulogized our three founding fathers, Awolowo, Azikiwe, and Ahmadu Bello. We've all eulogized them this evening because of what they did in education. And my plea with our current leaders that they should copy the footsteps of our founding fathers. I know the arguments will come, demographies are not the same, the other one, and so on. But I will say, the source of income or generating revenue in those days are not the same now. We now have oil. We have all mineral resources in every corner of Nigeria. Let us harvest those God-blessed mineral resources and allocate a lot more money for education, right from universal basic primary to the university level. I was happy when technical school was introduced currently. I'm a teacher, a retired teacher, right from primary school to the university. So I don't know why we should not produce the future leaders. The young ones are the future leaders. How are they going to lead? Pa Awolowo was educated, Pa Azikiwe was educated, Pa Ahmadu Bello was educated. You can't bring in someone who is not educated to lead, to learn what? How? I am sure that we have archives. Please, may our current leaders go to the archives and dust up that program. It may not be the same way, the same pattern and everything. Because as the representative of the president said, or is it the first lady, the population now is 230 million. But that does not stop us from improving on what they left for us. The three founding fathers left a great legacy on education, and we will not allow it to die. It will be a shame on us, the present leaders, if our children don't go to school, if there is no technical school. There were special technical schools in different locations, at least in the eastern region where I grew up. If you can't go to primary, You go to technical school, learn building, carpentry, and so on and so forth. You don't have to come and start, white-collar job. No. There are other things you can do to survive in Nigeria. I beg and pray that all our leaders now should try to leave a legacy so that 50 years to come, or another 70 years, an institution like the Independent newspaper will come up to honor them as our founding fathers before independence are being honored today. Let me also use this opportunity to express our gratitude to independent newspapers. I was taken aback when Okpeyemi called me and said, this is what the newspaper wants to do. For these three founding fathers of education in Nigeria. And I said, even though my schedule is tight, this is a big honor. I will be there. So I pray that other newspapers, other institutions will follow the footsteps of independent newspapers. Honor our founding fathers. Honor those who have achieved something, who have left legacies for us to learn. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Please, can you give our matriarch another round of applause? I know it's, for some people, it's difficult for you to speak extempore, top of your head, but she did that so gracefully and so elegantly. Please, can we give her another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? We've gotten to the junction, and I think it's a good point to anchor this wonderful event tonight. I call it historic as well because, honestly speaking, 70 years of how some people got educated free. And that set the tone for another century of those who have left their footprint in the sand of time. Once again, can we give our forefathers who have done this? Most of us are living on that legacy as well. Please, can we give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? At this point, I'd like to invite for the vote of thanks the Saturday editor of Daily Independent, of Independent Newspaper Limited, Mr. Yemi Adebisi. Thank you to help us put it all together. And
we sincerely want to say a very big thank you to everyone that made today a great success. There's no doubt that we have made a history here today. That you have taken your time to honor our invitation and to impact this into our life. We will remain grateful to you. Thank you very much for all that you have done. And Independent Newspaper Limited will never forget what you have impacted in the history of our company. And as a matter of fact, what has happened here today is not just a talk show. In collaboration with the Ologba of Ogba, we have decided to adopt a primary school in our community, at least to also leave a legacy that we met on ground by our forefathers. So thank you very much. And we pray that as you go back to your various destinations, you will arrive safely in Jesus' name. Thank you so, so very much.
Can you give Mr. Adebisi another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? After my sign out, we'll all be on our feet and take the national anthem. I want to say it's been a pleasure to anchor this 70th anniversary and, of course, award night in honor of years of free universal primary education by Daily Independent. My name is Joshua Akimbola Murakio. I'm a broadcaster, and of course, I'm a master of ceremony. It's been a pleasure, and I'm humbled to have anchored this very historic event. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, can we be on our feet as we take the national anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to say thank you very much for being here today, and I wish you a safe journey back home. Thank you very much.